Welcome to Waka Phambili, the building of a Warram Tiki 38 catamaran. In this video we have a look at building the 4 laminated beams. We start off by lofting the beam webs onto some stiff builder's card. That card was then cut to shape and then used as a template to trace around.
Starting time has started. Grant, we've done all the lofting for the masts and now Grant is making the very first cut. So here we go.
And now we're going to try and pinch a line with the circular saw again along this very gentle curve. We used some off-cut MDF cover sheet to see if we could make up a floor, covered that with plastic sheet, and that seemed to work quite well. We managed to laminate up the mast beam, keeping it flat and straight. Right, we've started on our second beam now. This was actually beam 3. That's the beam web actually. And the first one that we tried was the mast beam. We did that on the floor, knowing that it's only 4 pieces in total. This one is 6 and it's made us a bit stiff and achy, bending up and down, working on the floor the whole time. So we've kind of put together a bridge of sorts, all at the same height. Across the garage, we've managed to get our 6.7 metres in at a sort of a diagonal across the garage. And now we've got a piece of very flimsy MDF that we've used as a floor, and we're finding that all we really need is a straight line as a reference along the bottom edges of these beams. We've tried to cut them on the curved side. I don't know if you want to take a look over here, Cass. So that we're about, at least a 0.5 millimetre clear in most places. We managed to actually get the circular saw set at a relatively shallow depth to just gently coax it all the way around that curve. That seemed to have worked all right. What we're going to do right now is we're going to set up these pieces of angle iron that we've used as a stopper or a straight edge, if you will, at the very ends of these of the beam web, and wherever there's a join. So for instance, there's a join in the lower board there. We'll move one of the angles in here, and then we'll sort of set it all up, and once we're happy that we've got everything in place, we'll run a couple of screws through from below this floor and into the lower board. Glue it all up and see what happens. So we'll put you on time lapse and we'll kind of see how we go from there.
What we've done is we've put resin onto the bottom boards and given it a good soak, and then we have glued it, and it's pretty strong. See, we've had some nice ooze out there. That piece of plastic that you see, there's actually a latex glove that Grant keeps losing off the top of his fingers when he screws the screws in. So we've got some nice tight sections here. We'll leave it till tomorrow.
And then we'll start with beam
2.
Beam 2. Yeah, beam 1 has got a cutout, a 20 millimetre cutout from the lower section, so we thought we'd leave that to last. But yeah, it seems to work alright. I'll just pass me the camera, I'll show you some of the squeeze out we've had. So, looking along there, yep, she's focusing. So we've
Right, that was Grant's first scarf cut, and using his angle jig, looks pretty neat and tidy. Interesting how the end comes off a little bit ragged, but
quite
yeah,
sort of square along the line that originally cut it. I think that we just get a little bit of a rag and taggy end there, but that'll all obviously be filled up with epoxy or filler glue. But I think we've got a heap of gluing surface area there. So the other side will be the same, and we'll flip it over and join it on with glue. So yeah, that's number one.
Exciting stuff.
Yep. So that was number one, and the fun has just begun. By now the pile of beam webs had started to take up a lot of space in the passage, and we were having to sort of step over them. So it was time for us to start getting these beams together, putting on the fillets and the flanges. Both the fillets and the flanges had been scarf jointed to get our full length. We made sure they were clear of any defects. Here you see on the left hand side the web standing upright with the fillets attached to that side, and at the bottom here you see flanges that have been scarf joined waiting in the wings. Right, these got nice and sticky overnight. It's saturating. We'll go over in a moment or two and give it another wipe just to make sure everything's good and wet and nothing's sucked dry. Right, so what we've got going here is we've got our beam number 2, and we've just fastened the fillets to it. The next stage on that is to actually put another 2 layers on, and so the first of those layers will be a 19mm piece of material, and then on top of that will be this one at 32. Right, so that'll give us more than 50 up there. The minimum thickness that we can go on this beam is 126. So I think I'm going to put these so that this side is sort of aligned, and then I'll trim off any excess on that side once we're done with the circular saw. So what I've got to do right now is I've got to sand down the surface so that it keys ready for the next layer of glue. And while I'm at it, we may as well just sand these 2 scarves. These scarves, if you have a look at them here, you'll see that they squeeze out nicely, but as they're pushed together it obviously raises the thickness here slightly, and then I'll just take that thickness off with the sand. I'd rather have that happening than have the scarves too far apart and have them not quite at the right thickness over here. Anyway, I'll get going on the sander. We'll give you a few moments of that happening here. We've got our PPE all sorted. I'll just pop you down there and we'll give it a shot. Let's see what happens. Oh, so that went a whole lot easier than what I expected it would do. Yeah, we don't have to sand all the way through here. Effectively what we've got to do is we've just got to scuff. Here's a good example just there. You've just got to scuff through the epoxy so that we create what we call a mechanical bond, so that the next layer of epoxy can actually physically attach. It will go into those grooves, penetrate into those grooves, and actually attach itself there. In some places we've taken right through the epoxy soak and gone through to the wood. But before we put the next layer on, we will give it a coat of epoxy again, and that'll do the trick. So I'll just take a bit of really rough sandpaper and try and catch these spots that the belt sander didn't get. It doesn't have to be absolutely smooth, just as long as these are keyed sufficiently to hold, or create purchase for the next layer of epoxy to go on there. Yeah, that's gone pretty quickly actually. These screws out of here will obviously not stay there, they'll come out. All those holes will be filled with epoxy and glue. Right, yes, Kath, what do you think?
I think that you have got a very exciting parcel that's just arrived for you.
Oh, here it is. Let's have a look and see. This is literally an unboxing. Right, go on, Cass, get stuck in there. Oh, toys, 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 toys. Look at that. Alright, so we've gone with the Makita brand. We managed to find a crowd called iTools. So we were able to get these things online. And let's see what happens. We've got a few things no doubt to get on charge. And the idea behind the cordless tools, we thought we'd get them now. They're obviously going to make building a whole lot more convenient rather. And then once we're on board, hopefully they last that long for one. But once you're on board, cordless tools will obviously be the way to go. And straight into it. This is the soaker coat before we put on that board over there. Amazing how it brings out the grain.
Good.
Alright, looking good.
Yep.
So we'll carry on and show you what this looks like once that board's on. You can see that other lamination that we put up there now. It's looking pretty good. Screwed down, washer's holding in place. Right, this was full of glue somehow or other, so we just had to use the good old scriber to dig it out here. Well, and then we'll get a move on. Man, I'll tell you something, that is so quick. It's a whole lot better than having to use one of these old things. This is really a game changer. Oops, sorry to tell you, Dick and Blacker, but this time the Japs have won. Hi, good morning everybody. We're about to cut off the excess that sticks out in this top of this middle lamination on the upper curved surface of the beam. I've already marked off a line all the way along here using my trusty old square and transferred those measurements across every half meter or so. There is that scarf joint. Works quite nicely. The ideal is to leave a millimetre of glue in that joint. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Once these beams get to this stage, with their ribs and their flanges and their fillets, they make a substantial amount of material and they're quite heavy and difficult to maneuver around. Oh, hello, good morning. There you are. Fairly bright looking, but cold morning out there. Let's have a look and see what we got up to last night. So, yeah, just all these screw holes in the the uppermost lamination. I've filled them in, dropped a bit of resin down there, knocked in a toothpick, down, right deep down into the hole. Next step is to put in the inserts. So those will go in here. I spent quite a bit of time yesterday both sanding down these surfaces and then marking them off to get the inserts that go in here. Still a bit on the tight side. We'd like to get a millimetre of free space between that just for glue. Come with me, we'll pop it back in here. Well, she looks like she's finally carked it. Yep, there's just no go. Don't want to play no more. Yep, all the usual tricks. Got a joint in the cable, we'll give that a wiggle. That plugs in. No power's good there. I don't know if we can spring for a new one just yet. Yep, I'll open it up and see what I can find. I think it's probably just a switch. It's been giving warning signs. Switch is not making contact at all. Simply because there's too much sanding dust inside there. It can't possibly make contact. If anything, it's probably a fire hazard. But yeah, hopefully you will have focused so that if need be, after I've pulled this apart to clean it, we can look at the footage to see how it all goes back together again. But let's see how we go with this. Could be interesting. Hopefully things don't go boing and we end up with bits all over the show. Well, here's hoping that's all it was. Is that ball bearing going to play the game with us? Good. I think we may just have found the answer to one of our woes, because this thing was not sucking up any dust.
So that guy goes under the switch.
We're back in action. Getting light. Yep, it's happened again, you guessed it. She's given up the ghost again, got her in pieces. Only thing is this time, it's a bearing that has seized in it. You'll see how dark it's gone. Seized up absolutely solid. I've managed to find another bearing the same size that comes, believe it or not, out of one of these. Fine. Let's see if it's up to the task. Oh, good day everybody. Looks like we are back at the beam again. So let's have a look at how we did yesterday. Yeah, we're off to a bit of a late start this morning. But yeah, we've got those inserts nicely put in. We've got to just rip these screws out. Probably sand them off with our newly repaired belt sander, which seems to be working okay by the way. And once that's done, we'll probably route out all of these corners. And then we'll have a look at putting in a proper shape fillet all the way on the inside here. So we've got to round these edges off and put a fillet in, just so it makes it easier for the fiberglass to lie properly against the timber. Heavy old thing. It's not getting any lighter, that much I'll let you know. either one of those get caught and will not come loose. And then we have to come up with some sort of arrangement to grab a hold of the top of that head and pull it out. A mate of mine is going to let us have a go with a few tech screws. It may be worthwhile buying those. They have a hex drive, more like a bolt head as opposed to these square drive screws. Anyway, we see how we go. For the rest, we're all looking pretty good. Good morning. Today we're going to have a shot at these fillets. We've already sanded and we've also vacuumed and we've wiped with acetone. We've tried to get right into the corners and leave as little of the shiny stuff behind as we possibly can. And thanks to our friends on Facebook, we've managed to work out that about a 50mm diameter gives us that fillet in here with a minimum depth at a 45-degree angle of 10mm. The curly question, the spec drawing, resulting in Bruce's lollipop, in use about here. And some of the tidy up the next day. It didn't take us long to figure out that this was going to take a lot of practice. This was still fairly early on in the build, and we were left scratching for all sorts of different types of solutions to try and make the sanding process, particularly in these concave curves, a little easier. At this point I realise I've let this video grow a little long, so we'll cut it short here, and in part 2 we'll tackle glassing, building in lugs, committing to a slight modification, putting in the lashing plates and finishing off. Please remember to like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this and want to see more. See you later. Cheers.